The following podcast will contain spoilers, tangents, hot takes, and excessive foul language. Viewer discretion is advised. Enjoy the show.
Greetings, horror fans, and welcome to episode 303 of Frightmares. I'm your host, Austin Proctor, and joining me today for 1983's Christine is Cory Johnson.
Heyo,
Christine. Oh man, is this our first Carpenter of the year? I think it is. Yeah, I think this actually might be the only Carpenter of the year, to be honest. But don't worry, got plenty more Stephen King on the way. That's for sure. We've done Carrie, we've done The Shining. Now we're doing Christine. The next episode's gonna be.
But I
King.
mean, this is quite possibly, to me anyway, the best pairing of source material and director.
Okay, yeah.
It's just like for Christine as just like a subject in general, I feel like John Carpenter with his music background and the cool cars, like it's just got a sizzle.
Yeah, it does. And it really makes me not like frustrated, but I wish there were more King Carpenter collaborations, because I'm fairly certain this is the only one. Because I know Carpenter was supposed to direct Firestarter, but he lost that job due to the poor reception of The Thing from 1982. So I think this is the only King Carpenter collaboration. And yeah, I would have loved more, to be honest, because I think they do pair very well. I was supposed to listen to the book. Life happened and I did not get to it. I listened to like the first 4 or 5 chapters. And even listening,
I had so many questions.
I know. I have completely failed. But even just from the little bit that I did listen to, even in like the first opening 20 minutes of the movie, so much of the dialogue was the same. So much of what happened was right from the book. So I can only imagine Carpenter kept that up throughout the most of the movie. I know typically when it comes to King material and adapting it, the endings usually change somewhat because, you know, I've mentioned this before, King's known for not having like the greatest endings of his books. But I do plan to finish it at some point and report back. So I apologize to everyone. That was my goal and I did not do it. So life happened. But nonetheless, Christine, for me, background of my, whatever you want to call it with Christine, I saw this movie for the first time in October of 2020. I thought I rated it less than I rated it now, but I guess I didn't. That's neither here nor there. So this is my third time watching. And just like my history with Poltergeist, I'd heard about this movie for a long time. It's one of those movies I had known about. It's a killer car. It is in a very tiny subgenre of horror of killer cars. I could probably name you like 3 horror movies that have killer cars. And one of them is called The Car. So I think it's fun.
Yeah, I couldn't even do that. The only thing I could do even close is Rubber.
Yeah, that was going to be my next one, even though it's not really a car, but it's in that ballpark. So Rubber, The Car, and Christine are like the only killer car things I know. So I really enjoy this movie. I think it's a great fun time. And every time I watch it, it's like, you know, just a little bit more appreciation for it every time I watch it. I didn't rate it higher than I did last time, but I mean, that's not to say I didn't enjoy it this time. Although I did pick up on new things, as per usual when I'm taking notes for a movie on the podcast. I always notice something a little different. So I'm very interested to hear your thoughts and feelings on this when we get there, but what about you? Your history with Christine? Had you seen this like ages ago or?
Oh, yeah. This is so I don't know if you remember the times of cable TV.
Seems like so long ago.
There was a channel called Sci-Fi, and it was a spinoff of some other channel from way back when. But Sci-Fi would do from like 9 p.m. to like fucking 4 a.m. They would just run random ass movies. And they got into a cycle, at least in my memory, of staying up and watching it, where it would be like 3 or 4 Stephen King things back to back. It would be like the Tommyknockers into the Langoliers, into like the first half of the It miniseries, and then like into Christine or into Cujo or into Carrie or whatever. So I've seen it like as a kid, not really like watching movies. Like movies play in front of me, but like it's not registering what a movie is.
Right.
But you know, then I probably in high school I watched it a few times when I was like trying to be pretentious and do the whole like Stephen King, Edgar Allan Poe phase that we all went through. No, just me? Okay.
Not me. If anything, I'm in my Stephen King phase like now because yeah. But nonetheless, that's our history with Christine. Let's move on to what did Jason Hill make me watch this week? This week, Jason made me watch a movie called Mortuary. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, wait a second, Austin, we already did this way back when last year. It's another movie called Mortuary, not the one from 2005. This one is from 1982, technically, but didn't get released until 1983. So now that we've cleared that, because I know everyone was fucking panicking right there.
Screaming in our comments and our inboxes.
So, by the way, I should mention I'm very fired up today because of the Oscar winner that I had to watch, and you'll hear what is very few. It's very few and far in between now that I'm not drinking when I have a rant, but this rant is either people are gonna agree with me or it's just gonna completely piss people off. So I apologize in advance for the horrid things I'm gonna say about the Oscar winner for 1983.
Speaking of riling people up, also nobody should be riled up about rehashing things. We have rehashed so many movies so many times.
I know.
So many times. How many times can we talk about the Blair Witch Project? Every other podcast.
Well, if it wasn't so damn good. So Mortuary from 1982, released in 1983, a young woman investigates the seemingly accidental death of her father, revealing many unsettling secrets and putting her in mortal danger. Funny enough, one of the main girls in this is named Christine, so props, Jason, for making a parallel that you probably didn't mean to. Love that. We have a very young Bill Paxton in this, and I think this is probably the youngest I've ever seen him, because Aliens was 86, and this was 82. So yeah, this is the youngest I've seen Bill Paxton. It had a very subtle but noticeable giallo vibe, even with a killer in black gloves with a fun instrument of death that he used. So definitely vibed like a giallo. Fun story. There was more than just a killer reveal at the end. It was like a character study on a truly unhinged psychopath, because the person that was the killer was in a psych ward and he's batshit crazy. Well, I guess I shouldn't say he, but there's only like 14 guys in the movie, so good luck figuring that one out. And I was kind of rooting for the killer, to be honest. I don't know why I root for the killer sometimes. Sometimes I just want them to win. I can't explain it. It's probably a lot of what's wrong with me, and that's why I'm in therapy. But it was a fun time. It was a fun little slasher, and this is early in the slasher boom of the 80s. We're talking 82 here. So it was early on, that was when Friday the 13th Part 3 was 1982. So, that franchise had just started kicking off. And then, you get midway through the 80s and we're full-blown slasher. So I think this one was a good time. I really enjoyed it. I actually bought the DVD or the Blu-ray of this because I don't think it was streaming anywhere. I'm going to double check if Letterboxd would load. There we go. Oh shit, it's streaming everywhere. It is on, oh no, it was in my cart for a long time. That's why I bought it. So it's on Amazon Prime, it's on Tubi, it's on Freevee, it's on Pluto TV. It's got a 2.9 out of 5 on Letterboxd. I think I already said this, but I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 with a heart. Jason only gave it a 2.5, no heart. And I can't really read his fucking review because there's spoilers in it. And I read this before I watched the movie. Thanks, Jason. Motherfucker. I texted him. I was like, dude, you spoiled the movie in your review. And he was like, oh shit, did I? I'm like, damn it, Jason. But I'll read it up to a certain part. It says, before Bill Paxton was killed by a Terminator, before he was killed by an alien, and even before he was killed by a predator, he was in a slasher movie where he loved his mother. Good on him. So I changed some things there. Fun times there. If you want to check it out, go check it out on all the places that I just mentioned. And once again, that is Mortuary from 1982, released in 1983.
Jason says, check it out. You'll probably hate it.
You'll probably hate it.
Thanks, Jason. Let's move on to the highest grossing movies and the Oscar winners of 1983. Star Wars Episode 6 Return of the Jedi is the highest grossing movie of 1983, bringing in $482.5 million. Highest grossing horror movie of the year was Jaws 3D at 87.9. Well, let's just say 88. Close enough. And this was the 56th Academy Awards, Monday, April 9th, 1984. Honoring movies that released in 1983. Best Actor goes to Robert Duvall for Tender Mercies. Actor in a supporting role goes to Jack Nicholson for Terms of Endearment. Best Actress goes to Shirley MacLaine from Terms of Endearment. Actress in a supporting role is Linda Hunt from The Year of Living Dangerously. Cinematography goes to Sven Nykvist for Fanny and Alexander. There has not been one fucking cinematographer so far that I can pronounce the name of. Fuck. Director James L. Brooks, Terms of Endearment, musical score goes to Bill Conti for The Right Stuff, and Best Picture goes to Terms of Endearment. And y'all, when I say I have not hated a movie so vehemently in so long, my brain hurts right now. I'm already sensing the buildup of rage coming back because fuck this movie and everything it fucking stands for. It's so painfully annoying and insufferable. Every single fucking character is god awful in this, and then they try to bring it around at the end and make you care for them, and I'm so fucking taken out by that point in time, and I don't give a shit about any of them. They took 3 great actors that I loved and made me fucking hate them. The only person I didn't hate in this movie was Danny DeVito, and that's probably because he was not in nearly enough of the movie to make any fucking stupid decisions. This filled me with so much hatred and rage, and this is the one thing I don't like about movies is when they do this to me. I am usually so optimistic with movies. I give them credit where I can give them credit, even if they suck, but fuck this movie. It's a pile of shit. I hate it, and I rest.
Woo!
I have to laugh.
Like, you need some sour cream for all that fire that you're spitting.
It's, oh my God. Literally every single fucking character in this is so insufferable. None of them have any likable qualities. They're all a shitbag in some way, shape, or form. And then again, in the third act, they're like, "Oh, we're gonna make you care about these people," and I'm so lost on it by that point. You can't turn my opinion around when everyone's trying to rectify everything at the end. No, doesn't work for me. Not a fan of this movie in any way, shape, or form. I give this a 1 fucking star. That's how bad I like. When's the last time anybody on this podcast has ever heard me give a movie 1 star besides Blackout from last year?
So back in the episodes that we don't even have live anymore.
Yeah.
You gave a few movies, but we were also doing like 8 movies at a time each.
I'll put this into perspective for everyone listening. I have logged on Letterboxd 2,699 different films. 34 of them are 1 stars. It is approximately 1% of every movie I've rated is a 1 star. So that should tell you how much I hated this movie. Here's my review for Terms of Endearment. Just when I thought I couldn't be any more angry with a movie, my wife tells me that there's a sequel to this abomination. Please excuse me while I release my unfathomable white-hot burning rage by bashing my head into the wall until I pass out. That's my review.
Whew.
I know. I got a little heated there, man. I got a little heated.
Hey man, you know, like you've said to me at least a few times as we've been going through this theme this year. You know, sometimes movie of the year, not made for you. Not a movie for you.
And honestly, I rage rated this, I guess, lower than I should have because I've been so nice to the Oscars, like giving them 2.5 because it's not for me, but I see the merit, even though I wanted to rate them less. And I was like, you know what? All the hatred I have for the Oscars so far is going directly into this movie.
No merit. This movie is worthless.
It's just worthless. The only reason it doesn't get a half star is because there's only one movie on planet Earth that is deserving of a half star, and that's Mono's Hands of Fate, or however you say that movie.
I don't know. Ishtab was pretty bad.
That was pretty bad.
Hooker with a hacksaw.
That was pretty
bad.
Yeah, so this has a 3.7 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Fuck me, I don't know how it got there. You can watch it on Paramount Plus. It's like over 2 hours, and enough is enough with this movie. I want to talk about something that I actually love. Very rarely do I get heated about movies, and this one fucking set me off. So I apologize to anybody listening if I just blasted your ears with my white-hot rage. So let's take it down a notch, and let's talk about a fucking movie from the 80s that is actually worth all of your time and probably more. Let's move on to the IMDb Roundup. Boo-yah. This is Christine from 1983, released on December 9th of that year in the U.S., right in time for Christmas, apparently. Rated R for mild sex and nudity, moderate violence and gore, severe profanity, mild alcohol, drugs, and smoking, and moderate frightening and intense scenes. Coming in at an hour and 50 minutes, little long. This is listed as a horror thriller directed by the man himself, John Carpenter, who I should not have to explain at this point in time. Written by Ben Phillips, who didn't do anything I recognize, but he did do something called There Goes the Neighborhood, so there's that. Composed by John Carpenter, who composes basically every single one of his movies. The only one I can think of that he did not score was The Thing, but I can't think of anything else he didn't score. Also composed by Alan Howarth, who composed Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, They Live, and The Dentist 1 and 2, and it is very apparent with some of the tones and noises they use that he was part of Halloween 3. Cinematography is Donald M. Morgan, who also did the cinematography for Starman, another John Carpenter joint, and The Rage Carrie 2, an underrated slap. Edited by Marion Rothman, who also edited Starman, Mystic Pizza, and Memoirs of an Invisible Man. We have starring Keith Gordon as Arnie, who was also in Jaws 2 as Doug. John Stockwell as Dennis, who was in Top Gun as Cougar. Alexandra Paul as Lee, who was in 92 episodes of Baywatch as Stephanie Holden. Robert Prosky as Darnell, who was in Last Action Hero as Nick. And, of course, Harry Dean Stanton as Junkins, who was also an Alien as Brett a couple episodes ago. Estimated budget of $9.7 million, grossing $21 million. Not too shabby for Mr. Carpenter. Filmed in LA, Oak Park, Santa Clarita, South Pasadena, and various other cities nearby in California. You can rent this on Amazon. It is not streaming, sadly. Movies that came out around the same time, we have Amityville 3D, The Being, A Christmas Story, Sleepaway Camp, Scarface, Sudden Impact, and The Keep. Very widespread amount of movies there.
I would say the best one is probably Scarface.
Yeah, I can agree with that. IMDb summary: a nerdish boy buys a strange car with an evil mind of its own, and his nature starts to change to reflect it. This is Christine.
She is seductive. She is passionate. She is possessive. She is pure evil. She is Christine, a 1958 Plymouth Fury, possessed by hell. Her previous owner is not alive to warn her present one. Once she lures you behind the wheel, you will be hers, body and soul. There is no place you can hide. No place you can run, and nothing you can do can stop her. Because how do you kill something that can't possibly be alive? Christine. Body by Plymouth. Soul by Satan.
So, Cory, overall thoughts for Christine. What do we got here?
My overall thoughts is if you can get past the initial first 15 minutes of just hardcore misogyny, it's a super fun movie. Like I said in the beginning, the cars are cool. The music is cool. For the most part, the people for the 80s are cool. They're at least cool looking. They're actors. They're not high schoolers, that's for sure.
No.
And it's got that that Italian, that fine Italian restaurant level of cheese sprinkled right on top that just makes it such a fun ride.
Nice.
All of the dialogue is cheese fucking ball city. It's some of the floppiest John Carpenter dialogue I've ever seen.
Oh, you're gonna hate my hot take. Oh shit.
Okay.
Oh God.
All right.
Fucking, I love this. I love podcasting.
But it's so much fun. It is. I forgot John Carpenter did this. This is probably seating somewhere in my John Carpenter top 5 now.
Oh,
because I had been reminded of it. It's been so far away from my memory until watching it for this episode.
That's totally fair. That's fair. Yeah, you kind of forget about, not that you forget about Christine, but it's not, when I think of Christine, I just don't immediately think of John Carpenter. It's kind of overshadowed by Stephen King just because of the source material. But yeah, I can totally understand why it's I kind of forgot he directed this until you watch it. Yeah. And then you're like, yeah, okay, this is definitely a John Carpenter.
Cause the idea of Christine as a story and then as a movie has, because of how things work in our world now, has been in the zeitgeist for so long that even if you haven't seen it, you are at least tangentially aware of a movie about a killer car.
Fair,
because it was either the butt of a joke in something, or it was, sprinkled into pop culture a la Family Guy or some shit. So, but then rewatching it, you're like, oh shit, that's why everybody fucking knows what this is.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. My overall thought is, although it does take just a bit to get going, I think it's a solid Carpenter movie adapted from King material that is, extremely small subgenre, like we mentioned, killer cars. I have another random, probably because I was so fired up today, but I have I have some rapid fire thoughts I wanted to just shoot at you because sometimes I randomly do shit like this. I don't know what causes it, but I think today was the fired up mood. So my rapid fire or my stream of conscious thoughts here real quick. Playing fellatio in a Scrabble game with your parents is unhinged. Shitter is a weird word. William Ostrander, who plays Buddy, looks like a Temu John Travolta. I'm actually not shocked that Shitter never caught on. Where the fuck is the John Carpenter score? Okay, seriously, enough with Shitter. What does Christine feed off of, people or Arnie's energy? Okay, I'm starting to like Shitter. And driving around while drinking beer seemed way too easy in the 80s. That's my stream of conscious.
So I agree. I agree with all of those, except for I thought that Buddy looked like Ben Stiller.
Ben Stiller? What, from Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny?
Yes.
Good grief.
That's okay. First off, thank you, because I've been racking my brain trying to figure out what Ben Stiller character he looked like.
That.
And I was like, he was doing the Zoolander face, but he had the burns. What was he doing? Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny. Thank you.
And now that you've said that, I can't get it out of my head. And that might have been who I was actually thinking it looked like. I just saw the sideburns and thought of Travolta in Carrie, but he so much more resembles Ben Stiller in his small role of Tenacious D in the Pick of Destiny. Oh, that's beautiful. I love how your mind works.
If you gave Danny Zuko's sideburns, it'd be pretty close.
I love the way your brain works, dude. Oh, shit. So I have to say right off the cuff, just about Stephen King in general, I love, because I'm sure this is probably how it went down every time he wrote a book. I'm starting with Carrie because that was his first book. It's like, all right, I have an idea for a girl who gets bullied and gets revenge. And they're like, okay, we like this. By killing everyone. Like, okay. What about a haunted hotel? Like, all right, yeah, cool. That kills everyone. Okay, Steven. Perhaps a demented shape-shifting clown? Okay, I like that. That also kills everyone. Maybe a toy monkey? That kills everyone. And then a car that also kills everyone. Like, why is all of his shit inanimate objects that just want to kill everybody in a fucking...
Oh, but then you get Cujo.
Well, yeah,
okay. A living thing that kills people.
Then it's a living thing. He does have living things, but like the hotel, the car, the toy monkey, all this shit is not even alive. So I just love that. Every time he goes to publish a book, they're probably like, oh, I like this, but then it kills people. It's like, God damn it, Stephen. Do something else. No, but I do love Stephen King and his work, although he's definitely long-winded. Let's talk about that intro, specifically the way it immediately kicks off, because I don't remember how this starts. I've seen it twice before this, and I had my surround sound cranked because that's just how I listen to movies. But it starts with an engine turning over and coming to life, so I almost shat myself because it was so loud. It was like,
and then and then directly into George Thorogood's Bad to the Bone, which to some people sounds like an engine starting.
Yeah.
Because he is a gruff-voiced, smoky white man.
Yeah, the intro is so good. And you see the cars coming down the assembly line. Bad to the Bone is in full swing. And the car kills someone on the production floor or on the assembly line floor, and then you cut to the title card. Like I love that they added that for the movie because, like I said, it's not in the book, and but it's also you have to be a little bit more dramatic in movies. It's obviously you're not listening or reading something, you're seeing it on screen. So to do that kind of sets the tone for what's going to happen in the rest of the movie. It's like this car was evil from the second it rolled off the line. And I love that. Just a little change.
And racist.
And yeah, that's true. That's very true. I'll tell you the one thing that I loved about them in the movie, not including from the book, because Stephen King, just like Quentin Tarantino, very famous for popping off with that N-word. And we got to like chapter 37 in The Shining before it happened. Chapter 1, like paragraph 3, this guy's just it's like a gunshot, just like I was like, oh God, I'm not ready for that. Stop saying that word. It's the guy who sells Arnie the car. He says that word, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 times, and I literally pressed pause and I was like, all right, I gotta take a break and come back to this because I wasn't already ready for that word. It's a bit harsh. Why do we have to do this, Stephen King? So I'm glad that it wasn't included in the movie, just because it's, especially from King, it's almost always in a derogatory way, and it's usually always a white man saying it about a person of color. So I hate that, and that's why I paused the book and I was like, I'm coming back to this later because it just turned me right off. But that's something I like that they did not include. I think that for me it's funny. I think the dialogue is it's just, well, first of all, in the first 15 minutes, like you said, it's wildly unhinged because they say, I heard the term sperm bank, cunt face, shitter, and cuntingham all very quickly. And I was just like, oh my God, this is some wild swears. But for me, I don't know, to me, it just seems incredibly natural. And he also uses a lot of the dialogue. Again, I haven't read much of the book, but he uses word for word dialogue from the book onto the screen. So maybe that's kind of why I was like, oh, I'm assuming he did this with most of the movie because he did so much of it with only me reading 4 or 5 chapters. But I don't know, for some reason, what don't you like about the dialogue for you? What is the issue?
I don't know. Maybe it's just so, especially if it's lifted from how Stephen King wrote it. I'm not a huge fan of Stephen King dialogue. He can tell a story, but he can't tell me how the people in the story said their shit, because it's just not good. Look at him. He's obviously not a human. How is not a human going to write human dialogue?
He's a space turtle with just like Pennywise from It. This man is not from this earth. Okay, that's fair. I just, for some reason, I really enjoyed the dialogue. It just felt like a conversation that would just have, it felt natural to me, but I feel like that's because the dialogue in the book, from what I listened to, was fine, but I also feel like the writer of this, I think, was Carpenter credited? Let me scroll back up here. I think the writer of this took what was important from the book. Writer Bill Phillips. I think he took some important key words and stuff like that from the book and kind of put his own spin on it. That's what I got the vibe of. But it just kind of felt natural, and I don't know, it didn't feel janky.
I don't know. Maybe now that I'm ruminating on it a little bit, maybe because of like the pristine California type vibe and just the way it was framed and the way the characters were, it was like a really, really unhinged and edgy Archie comic.
That is fucking a great parallel, like whatever I'm trying to say right now. That I'm sorry, I'm so caught off guard, but that is perfect. That is exactly what it is.
Maybe that's why I felt like the writing was flimsy, because it felt like Funny Pages writing. Okay. Like maybe they're trying to get something across, but they're doing it in such a goofy ass way that you can't really take it serious. Like no matter how badly you want it to be serious, no matter what relationship comes out of the trauma these characters are going through, it was a killer car. Just get on top of something. You win.
Game over. It doesn't. It's not
somebody's gonna come by and come looking for you and see this car driving itself, trying to kill you, and be like, okay, we'll get people involved. Like, it's not hard.
And see, I also feel like it's people who are just speaking so straightforward. They're not sugarcoating it. They're not trying to be nice. People are just like, they're saying cunt this and I don't know. They're just speaking so directly to everybody. And I also saw The Monkey over the weekend, and that dialogue is the weirdest dialogue. It's so funnily not fun. I don't know. It's impossible to explain. You have to go see The Monkey because the dialogue is so chaotic, but it's like chaotic good. And after I saw The Monkey, I kind of did some research on King and Osgood Perkins, and apparently he adapted what was in the book very well, I guess it's a short story from Graveyard Shift, but he adapted what the characters were saying, almost not like verbatim, but a very good adaptation of that. And it just made me wonder, like, wow, I love the writing, because it's like, it didn't make sense, but it's so hard to explain. I can't even put it into words. But knowing that going into Christine, I think that's why the dialogue really stood out to me, because I think it's, at least with Christine and The Monkey, I feel like these are true adaptations in the sense of dialogue, which is kind of what I like about Stephen King. Some of his stuff, like, he's very lengthy. So for me, when I'm listening to a Stephen King book, he's got so much description going on, and then a character talks. I'm not really paying attention to what the character is necessarily saying. I'm trying to focus on what's happening. So when I'm able to focus on the dialogue much more in a movie, and this is the product that I get, I'm like, it just weirdly works for me. I can't explain why I feel the way I do about the dialogue, but it's funny that it stood out to me and I liked it, and it stood out to you and you didn't like it. I love when this happens. This is like my favorite thing on the show.
Yeah, and it doesn't happen a lot, right? But when it does,
right,
some good shit.
Did you catch the old man Marley, the South Bend shovel slayer from Home Alone? Did you catch his little part in this movie?
No.
He's the guy that sells the car to Arnie. It's the same guy from Home Alone, Old Man Marley across the street.
Ah.
Yeah, he's in it for just a little bit.
That is so. Don't get me wrong. I like Home Alone. Do I like Home Alone to know more than Macaulay Culkin, Joe Pesci,
and Marv,
and the other guy?
Marv.
Marv. Not the actual actor's name. No.
Well, you also, I know you, and I learned this about you, like, you know, recently, is that you're not really a fan of Christmas, so you probably don't even watch those movies that much to begin with. No,
as I have said on this podcast probably more than once, and to like anybody who ever asks, I got 2 Christmas movies: the original 1950s How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. That's
it. Yep. Yep. Something else I quite rather enjoyed was Arnie and Dennis's friendship, specifically because Dennis is kind of, he's a jockey, plays football. Arnie is a fucking dweeb. And I love that because it kind of flips that trope on its head of the geeky guy always getting bullied by a jock. I mean, yes, he still gets his fair share of bullying, but Dennis is there to kind of have his back. I think that's a good... Like, I like the camaraderie they have. Of course, when Arnie kind of turns into a piece of shit, I don't like it so much. But in the beginning, before he gets the car and before he starts to change, I really like how Dennis is there for him. Even though they should not be in the same room together in high school, they would be in completely different cliques. But I like that. It's part of the story that I quite enjoy.
Yeah, Dennis is like, I will defend you up to a knife.
Yeah,
after a knife, you're on your own.
You might be on your own. Arnie also, I like the fact that Arnie eventually does stand up to his parents because his parents are kind of shitty to him. My God, but eventually he stands up to them, maybe a little too much. He does get kind of rowdy with what he's saying to his parents.
Yeah, he shatters that glass ceiling.
Yeah, if I ever spoke that way to my dad, it would not have been good for me. Swearing at my father, yikes! No, never did that. Never will do that.
Your dad will knock a motherfucker out.
Yeah, I would never swear at my father, so that's a little past what I would do. And then speaking on Christine, I guess herself, when she gets like cleaned up and that cherry paint job, and oh man, that car's fucking clean. Oh,
nice
God.
Fucking car.
And then they fucking it gets destroyed, which crushes a bit of my soul because they destroyed so many cars in this movie. But then that scene when she fixes herself. Woo, that's probably my favorite scene in the whole movie because Arnie stands.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Arnie stands back and he's like, "All right, show me." And then the high beams turn on and it's like, "Choo!" And then the car just starts like building itself back out. Incredible scene. I think I have trivia on how they did that because I was curious, and even when I explain it, I'm still probably not going to understand. It's the fucking 80s. I don't even know. Probably a miniature, I'm assuming, but it just.
I thought it was like stop motion but backwards,
or yeah,
and they just like removed whatever the pressing weight was every time.
Yeah, I don't know. I just goddamn John Carpenter. I just fucking love him in the 80s so much. It's just, it looks so good, and they only do that once, but that's the only time. You don't need it more than once. It's fine.
And they have to do it at the end.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where they did it so good one time. I was like, I don't need to see this replicated 2 or 3 more times. I know that this can be a thing in this universe. I'm okay with seeing it the one good time, and we'll leave it at that. And then the other thing I had that was for likes was just the absolutely batshit and crazy explosion, because it's like one explosion, then another one, then another. It's like 3 explosions that just mushroom cloud into the air. Top-notch explosion. Love that. What about you? Anything specifically that you just really love about Christine?
So I do love the insane amount of practical effects that they use.
Mm-hmm.
I do agree that it does hurt me a little bit. I'm not even a car guy, but like that type of car, that's a nice fucking car. That's like an OG like 1930s Batman car. Like that shit is fucking awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
I also like how for no reason at all, crusty Mr. Darnell just like took Arnie under his wing, and if the Mucinex booger was a person, it'd be that guy. But it turns out heart of gold. Even and when Christine rolls in after doing her fucking Ghost Rider shit and riding around the city on fire, he sees her come in and he calls not the police first, but to see if his errand boy had gotten to the errand and realizing that he's not in that car. Like, okay, heart of gold boss, fucking.
And he's like such a dick too to him at first, and you're like, man, this guy is just a curmudgeony old fart. And then he kind of slowly peels back the curtain that he's actually a really nice guy. He probably just acts tough because I don't know. You kind of have to be tough in a job like that in a junkyard, I assume. So you have to put on a front, but he's really like the sweetest fuck, like salt of the earth.
He looks like what I imagine Oscar the Grouch's feet look like.
The way you put things into this weird perspective for me. Oh my God. Where does this come from, my guy?
Off the dome.
Oh shit.
I see things and I go, how can I make this kind of funny?
Oscar the Grouch's feet. Oh my God.
You ain't never seen him.
That's the thing. That's why I think it's so
always
funny.
in that trash can.
Also,
I'm sorry, I'm going to tangent for a second.
No, go for it.
Oscar the Grouch lives in a trash can, right?
Okay.
How? So if that's his home, so one of two things is happening on fucking Sesame Street, okay? Either every trash can is like a Super Mario pipe just connected all over the place, or motherfuckers are just so fed up with Oscar the Grouch that they're like, nah, don't bring him out of the trash can. We're just going to move the trash can to location so we can shoot this fucking scene. And he doesn't even have to leave. He's got to pop his head out, do his thing, and go back in Puxatawny Phil style.
How do you expect me to follow that up?
I don't know. It's just where I started going for a second. I'm sorry to tangent.
Oh my God. I can't even think. Where were we? Oh, I'm crying.
I'm talking about my likes of Mr. Darnell.
Oh God, I'm crying. The second episode in a row, I'm fucking tearing up. Oh my God. So Darnell eventually led to Oscar the Grouch and Mario pipes. I love it. I love how the brain works. Couple dislikes here. I don't like how quickly Arnie goes from being a dweeb to being like this suave fucking ladies man. I think it's a bit quick in the movie. I'm assuming it's probably a lot slower in the book, but I wouldn't fucking know. Did you notice the lack of Carpenter score until about like an hour in? There was barely any score until it started going.
It was there. So now I want to know if he did like the compositional score himself, or if he had like total creative control over like all the other musical cues, because the pop culture music is there as a bed,
right,
to make the oldies that Christine plays make sense.
Yeah.
So, and then at the very end, when what's her face goes, "Ugh, I hate rock and roll," it's like a whole fucking thing about how, you know, pop culture and like self whatever will just consume you and make you an evil fucking being.
I like that, yeah.
But yeah, no, because if he had total creative control, then it makes way more sense as to why he only he sprinkled in like
a little bit
background, like background chords in like a scene change.
Yeah.
Like it would be popular music fade out going into whatever. And then like situation dialogue happens and it starts to ramp up onto the next thing. And you'll get like a chord, and then it goes on to the next thing. I think he sprinkled in a bunch of like really simple stuff just because he can't have his hands not in the inner workings of that audio.
Yeah, but I also think I just didn't even realize it's one of the things I picked up on this watch was, wow, where's the score? But once Christine starts coming to life and starts killing people, that's when the score is very apparent. So it might have also been just a creative decision to wait until that happened to kind of kick the score in like full tilt, which I'm okay with. I was just thinking about like, man, usually his movies are just heavy with the themes from the beginning. Like They Live is one of those ones where right from the beginning, it's like, this is a Carpenter score and it just rides out for the rest of the movie. So something that, it's not that I don't like, but I just like, man, I wish there was a little bit more of that score because I did enjoy it. And then
that's fair because once it really gets going, it's fucking... It's pretty fucking groovy.
It's that classic, just like doom, 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 and then fucking synthesizers and all this shit. My other, not really. It's more of just like a question. It's like, did they have to really kill Arnie? You know, I understand getting rid of Christine, but did they have to kill? Like, did Arnie have to die? Did we have to get rid of him? It would have been nice to see him. You know,
I think this is my headcanon.
Oh yes, love this.
I think that Christine killed Arnie because under Arnie's control, she was going to lose.
Yeah.
So when she's smashing into the bucket of the giant like skid steer thing that they get in the end of the movie, you see her getting beat up, but then she does the whole in the shadows so you don't see it again, but she like rebuilds herself. So there was obviously like damage done. We didn't get to see the inside of the car. I'm thinking Christine let some glass go and that Arnie had been dying for a minute.
Yeah.
And that's why he jumped out of the car.
Okay. No, that makes sense. If if Christine can't have him, then nobody will. Kind of mentality. I could see that totally being a thing.
No. I see. I think it's more of a if I can't win and stay alive, you can't have me. It's very Harry Potter Elder Wand type shit.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, is there anything you were not a fan of in Christine?
The greaser punks are just absolute trash human beings,
maniacs.
Yeah, like menaces to society. Also, I know this is a thing of the 80s and into the 90s, but like Buddy, we'll use Buddy strictly as an example. Buddy is a high school aged person with like 7 o'clock shadow.
Major mutton chops. Yeah,
I get it. People under the age of 22 apparently universally could not act until 2012, but cast a little bit younger.
Yeah, he was.
Because a bunch of these people were, I mean, they were in some stuff, but they were in some stuff like till the 90s and then fell the fuck off.
Yeah, he was 24 when they filmed this, so 6 years past what would be high school. And I mean, you could even go as far as saying almost 10 years past, because you start high school at about 14. So, 6 to 10 years past anybody that would ever be in high school. So, so my hot take.
Even Arnie, who is probably the youngest of the people based on how he acts in the story or in the movie of the story, even I was like, man, you're like 27.
Yeah, you're definitely not high school at all. Yeah, most of them were like early 60s and late 50s. So yeah, they're almost getting to 30. So my hot take is for some reason, and this is not saying John Carpenter doesn't know how to write dialogue. I don't know. I find a lot of his dialogue interesting, but for some reason, I just think this is one of my favorite, specifically dialogue, not script, because obviously there's a lot of source material. I'm saying specific dialogue, and I know he used a lot from the book as well, but for some reason it just worked. I find it quippy, funny. It just feels like believable conversation. So this is just one of my dialogue. Well, one of my favorite dialogues from John Carpenter, because he's usually pretty straightforward in most of his movies. Yeah, Big Trouble in Little China is campy as fuck, but The Thing, pretty straightforward. There's not like a lot of quippy, funny one-liners or anything like that. Halloween, again, pretty straightforward. There's a couple little zingers here and there, but this one for some reason just kind of felt, I don't know, just goofy, silly, like they were just having a bunch of fun with it, which just feels a little off-brand for Carpenter, in my opinion, from what I've seen from him. So hot take for you. Anything?
My hot take is that from here on out, and it should have been done back then, but you are not allowed to put dates in your fucking movie if they mean nothing.
Oh my!
I understand it's probably to signify the quick passing of time from how Arnie gets affected, but it's never once mentioned in a piece of dialogue in the movie, and the only time a date is referenced is when fucking Arnie sees Dennis in the hospital and says Happy Thanksgiving, and that's it. These dates are fucking arbitrary. It could have been March 27th to fucking June 10th. I don't know. Fucking, it means nothing. And it was that bothered me more than the dialogue.
Okay.
That bothered me more than anything else. I was like, because it starts like in October sometime, doesn't it? And then it ends like 5 days after Christmas, or not Christmas, 5 days after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Like, what is this timeline?
Yeah, I only noticed, and I probably just missed the other ones, but I only noticed one on screen, and it was like November 23rd. And I looked at it, and I was like, have they been doing this the whole movie, or is this the only time this was on screen?
Nope. They did it like
wow, okay.
5 times.
Jeez, I must have looked away every single time. Hooks for me is when Christine repairs herself in the auto shop. Not that I wasn't into the movie before that, but but the first time I saw that, I remember sitting up in my seat and being like, ooh, this is fun. I didn't expect something like this, something of this quality. I don't even understand how they did that. I love this. So that's when I'm really like, all right, shit's about to ramp up. Let's do this. What about you?
This is kind of a movie that the opening for me just opens so right that I'm fucking in it. You sold me. Okay. Because first off, I unironically like George Thorogood and his band like as artists. So when you open up with the George Thorogood song, arguably his most played out one, but still nonetheless, George Thorogood, it's like, and this is a horrible example, but it's like Shrek opening with Smash Mouth. I fucking love Smash Mouth. You give me a band that I really, really like, which is not a whole lot of them. That's 2 of like 6.
No, it's very
when
well
you
put.
open up with one of my favorite bands, I'm like, all right, you fucking got me.
You got me, you son of a bitch. For me, I'm never lost. I enjoy every part of this movie, even though, like I said, it does take just a little bit to get really going. But I don't really have a moment that I'm fully taken out of. I think the pacing is pretty solid in my opinion. So, any moment that takes you out of the movie?
So, semi-joke answer. I was taken out for the exact amount of time every single time the word shitter was used. So every time, like the amount of time that it takes to get that word out of their mouth, like it just dumps from my memory banks. I'm like, oh, that's weird. This movie has a lot of weird random blank spaces.
Oh shit, I agree with that. Horror moment for me is the first time we see Christine in action. when she runs over she tries to run over that guy under the underpass and then corners him in this little weird section of building and then just demolishes him. I don't know what it is about that scene, but when I watched it for the first time, I had no idea what to expect with a killer car. And I just think it was so sadistic of that car to not only try to run somebody over, but just chase him down until he was dead. That was nuts to me. So what about you? Horror moment for you?
So my horror moment is probably, it's kind of a tie. So okay. I really, really appreciate Christine rebuilding herself. It's such a peak piece of horror cinema that it's like when The Fly comes out in The Fly, mm-hmm. and like those type of reveal situations. But I also really love a good rolling car on fire. And yeah. And Christine chasing dude down the highway, which, by the way, just get off the road, get on uneven terrain. Chances go up by like 40%.
Mm-hmm. That's one of my biggest problems with just anybody or anytime anyone is being chased by a car and they're running straight. Take a left, dude. Don't stop running straight. Go left. Do a zigzag pattern.
Something.
Get out of the way.
Something.
Yeah.
But that it's like a 3 or 4 second camera shot that's just like head on, mm-hmm. Christine in the middle of the frame. It's dark and the flames are just going off the body backwards from the car moving.
It's good stuff.
And you can only see like the silhouette of the car. You can't see any of the details. It's just fire and dope shit.
Dope shit. Yeah, fire and grill of car with headlights. My favorite kill is Buddy and his buddy. I don't remember what his friend's name was, but
Moochie,
yeah, just blasts over the Camaro into the guy in the shop, kills him, sets everything on fire, blasts through the gas pumps, and then runs down Buddy. Like, goddamn, peak fucking moment right there from Christine.
Oh, it's so good.
So, does your horror moment roll into your favorite kill with Buddy?
No, I do think my favorite kill, it was Vanderbilt with Buddy. Moochie was the one that got killed in the loading dock.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And for me, it's a tie between Moochie and Mr. Darnell. Okay. Because getting just sandwiched in a car that was built in the whatever period before the 90s when it was all fucking steel.
Yeah.
Like that is a horrible claustrophobic moment.
It is kind of a funny, cheesy death, but yeah, actually getting crushed to death and probably cracking your sternum and having
and with the car taunting you with 1950s jaunts.
That's a bad way to go. I'm gonna pass. My favorite character is kind of a cheat, but it's Christine. I love. She's a character. I'm gonna use that. So, what about you?
I've talked about him a bunch. Mr. Darnell is my favorite character.
Yeah, I figured just by how much you were gushing about him.
He gets a criminally underrated amount of screen time.
He does.
Also, what are you chewing?
Yeah, I noticed.
He's chewing something every scene. Did he write in his contract? No, I got to chew something.
It's probably big league chew or fucking, I don't know. But yeah, he was always chewing like a fucking cow with cud, just always moving that jaw. Least favorite character for me is Arnie's parents. Fuck those parents. My God, insufferable people. Not a fan of them. I was, Buddy is just too obvious. I did not like Arnie's parents. Thank God they were not in like a lot of the movie. So what about you?
I didn't like that fucking detective.
No, you didn't like Harry Dean Stanton? Oh,
no,
yeah,
no.
So he was sniffing around too much.
I felt like he tried out to be a cop on The Sopranos and didn't cut it. That's what I feel.
Yeah, and he is annoyingly, I mean, he's doing his job, but he's also kind of being annoying about it. Like, where were you? I was at the store. Give me your receipt. Okay, here's my receipt.
No, it felt very like akin to the transatlantic accent of like the 30s and 40s in cinema. Like, oh, what you doing? Oh, yeah, you got your receipt there?
Yeah, see, yeah.
Yeah. What were you doing today?
Monday the 14th. My favorite line is from Darnell in reference to Arnie. I don't remember the line before this, but it was like, good hands, bad taste in cars. And I just went, yeah, I don't know why. That made me just like one laugh, one little chuckle. That was my favorite line. Did you have a favorite line that wasn't shitter?
Yes. My favorite line was, did it ever occur to you that part of being a parent is trying to kill your kids?
That was that Arnie? That was Arnie, right?
Yeah, that was one part of Arnie's mini monologue
in when they were drinking beers in the car. Anything else you want to mention before we wrap up here?
I mean, this is a movie that, like I said at the beginning, it does everything that it tries to do really well, and I really don't think it's a movie that overreaches in its own expectations. Like, yeah. I think John Carpenter went into this like, all right, I'm John Carpenter, and this is Jackass. Like,
very matter-of-factly.
There was no like, let's try and make the next American cinematic masterpiece. It was like, let's make a movie about a fucking killer car. Let's go. All right.
Yeah. No, I agree. And with that, we will move on because that was very well put. Post-review stuff here. Taglines: she'll possess you, then destroy you. She's death on wheels. She's Christine. Once she lures you behind her wheel, you're all hers. Body by Plymouth, soul by Satan. And hell hath no fury like a 1958 Plymouth. Trivia: 15% of the budget was just on cars. By the end of filming, all but 2 were destroyed. Breaks my heart because just like you,
that's a surprisingly small number of budget.
Yeah, well, when you think about it, when the budget was about almost 10 million, that's still a pretty that's over $1 million on cars, if my math is mathin'. Yeah, 10% of 10 million is $1 million. Yeah, so that's a pretty big chunk of change there. And then destroying most of them. I'm like you, I'm not a huge car guy, but it still is like, man, those were really nice cars. Portions of the film, particularly Arnie's neighborhood, were shot in the same South Pasadena neighborhood that John Carpenter used in Halloween 1978. So here's how they did the regenerating scene from where Christine regenerates herself. To simulate the car regenerating itself, hydraulic pumps were installed on the inside of some of the film's numerous Plymouth Fury stunt doubles. A mock-up in plastic that looked more like metal on camera than actual metal as it bent and deformed. These pumps were attached to cables, which were in turn attached to the car's bodywork, and when they compressed, they would, quote, suck the paneling inwards. Footage of the inward crumpling body was then reversed to give the appearance of the car spontaneously retaking form. Fucking amazing. Love it.
So I was like 40% right.
You were more right than I was, that's for sure. Way more right than I was.
Because I also thought, well, what if it's just an inflatable that they're taking the air out of? And I was like, no, that's way too simple.
That's way too basic for John Carpenter. Stephen King's popularity was so high at the time of this film went into production before the book was even published. So the book was released in April of 1983, and this movie released in December of 1983. So the book wasn't even published before the movie started being made. One of the Plymouth Furies from the movie was sold for $167,000 in 2004. Nothing that I could find for goofs. Rated 6.8 out of 10 on IMDb, 3.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Has a 73% on the tomato meter and a 64% audience score. What did you give this, Corey?
I gave it a 4.
I also gave it a 4, so that is a back-to-back Frightmare certified slap. Similar movies according to Letterboxd. We have It Follows, Halloween H2O, Misery, Halloween 1978, and House of Wax. Similar movies according to IMDb, we have The Fog, Cujo, Pet Sematary, Big Trouble in Little China, and They Live. Did you get some funny reviews, Mr. Cory?
I did.
All right, well, we'll kick it over to you. I have 6, but I always usually bring doubles or more just in case, so.
I think I have 5.
Perfect.
From Jeannie, a half star, Herbie Gone Wild.
God, half star, wow. From, let's see. This will be kind of a niche like joke, so you have to have seen or heard of this movie, but it is 4 stars from Jay Randazzo, the male Titan. And if you've seen Titan, you will understand. I bet you 4 people get that joke, and I will feel better about myself. Moving on. What do you got?
Is that Titan A?
No, Titan is. Oh, my movies used to be behind me. Titan is about a girl that it's basically what happened to Christine with Arnie and Christine, but with a girl in a car in that movie. So it's kind of it vibes the same. It's just a female, and yeah. I'm pretty sure she fucks the car. I think so. Yeah, good times.
So a half star.
Oh my God.
From Trevor. Ever wanted to bone your car over a really attractive woman? Yeah. Me neither. What the fuck?
Well, right on par with that one, I have 3 stars from James that says, Arnie, just fuck the car already. Oh, shit. What do you got?
So this is a weird rating.
Okay.
Which is why it's in the middle.
Okay.
It's just a heart.
Mm-hmm.
There's no numbers. And it's from somebody named Justy. And it just says the best Transformers movie.
The non-canon Transformers movie. Well, that's also weird because I also have a review with no rating, just a heart from someone named Joe. And it says, this would never happen to me because Christine doesn't have an aux input.
Millennial problems. A 4-star review from Rich Trash. That scene where the gas station explodes and the car drives away on fire. That is worth the price of admission.
Hard agree with that. 3.5 stars from Haunted Hippie. Boy meets car. Boy fucks car. Car fucks everybody up. A classic love story.
And then a 4-star and a heart from Karsten. So he definitely fucked the car, no?
Definitely did that off screen. Last for me is 3 stars from Oliver. I can't believe Pixar remade this into a fucking kids film.
Took me a second on that one.
Took me a second when I read it for the first time too. I was like, what? Oh. So if you enjoyed the show, please rate and review on your favorite podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Slasher app, and Frightmares Podcast at Frightmares Podcast. Our email is stayspooky@outlook.com. You can also follow me personally on Letterboxd at Dr. Proctor. You are
Frightmares Cory.
Boo yeah. Next week, Gabby and I will be back doing another King adaptation because we haven't done enough for the 80s. And we will be doing Firestarter from 1984. So until then, stay tuned and
stay spooky.